Okay, Joe Morrissey is with us. Joe Morrissey, the host of the Fighting Joe Show, served in the House of Delegates with a lot of these individuals, Mark Herring being one. And he follows me at 10 a.m., 10 to noon, Tuesday to Friday, the Fighting Joe Morrissey Show. Joe, I love your show, man. You're doing a great job. Go ahead.
Can you hear me, John?
Yes.
I was just saying I would not characterize what's going on at Capitol Square, our state capitol right now, as fun, but rather appalling.
Let's talk about a few of these things, Joe. Let's start with Fairfax and work our way down.
Sure.
So,
okay.
So let's start with allegations. Let's just start with that. The statement put out publicly yesterday by Professor Tyson, and also Fairfax, in a twist here, Fairfax hiring the law firm that Brett Kavanaugh used in Washington, D.C., Tyson hiring the law firm that Christine Blasey Ford used in the Kavanaugh situation. Now it's reversed the opposite. What do you make of this whole thing?
Okay, well, first of all, the hiring of those respective law firms, coincidental, it is titillating, but let's focus on the facts. And I'm glad you want to take these one elected officials at a time. Okay, Fairfax situation, I think, is going to resolve in Fairfax's favor. Here's why. The evidence against him is specious. 2004, both parties admit that they met at a convention in Boston, and both admit that they voluntarily went to his hotel room. Both admit that the single at the time, Fairfax, and she engaged in mutual consensual kissing. That's where it diverges. Here's an important factor. Afterwards, she invited, when she says that a sexual assault occurred, apparently the evidence is that she invited him up to New York to meet her mother. Further, and this is crucial, at no time did she tell a colleague or a friend or a counselor about this. And that's crucial. Fast forward to 14 years, she made the allegation. So that storm, he'll weather that, in my opinion. Let's go on to the other two elected officials, all right? Northam's problem began when he made that outrageous statement regarding third trimester abortion, all right? About if a baby is born with a deformity, let's have a discussion as to what to do with the baby. Come on, you don't have a discussion. You resuscitate the baby. You don't even consider extinguishing the baby's life. That's what caused his downfall. Now, he then admitted being in blackface, retracted it, but admitted being in blackface with Michael Jackson. I think he's hanging on by his fingernails. But remember this, every hour and every day that he stays in the mansion, he comes closer to being resuscitated and remaining governor. Now, here's the biggest, and this is coming from a Democrat. The person who has the biggest problem, in my opinion, is Mark Herring. Why, Joe? Why does he have the biggest problem? For this reason alone. When the incident came out involving the governor, he came out and he said, because you appeared in the photo in blackface and because you admitted to being in blackface, certainly with Michael Jackson, perhaps twice, you should resign. Now, thereafter, he said that knowing that he had been in blackface in 1980. I mean, there is absolutely no wiggle room for him. He should resign because he's a hypocrite at the very least. But more importantly, he should resign because he said in his statement, for 35 years, this has pained me. Really? It really pained you? But you never mentioned it, and you only mention it now when you got caught. Herring should go today.
Joe, I tell you what, I'm not a lawyer, so I really can't comment on the Fairfax situation. I'm going to take your word at that as a criminal defense attorney and as a prosecutor for the Commonwealth. But I got to tell you, I agree with you. I think Herring is done politically forever. He'll never live this down. I thought the statement he put out was a sniveling, weaselly. It made me sick reading it on the air. It was like, for 35 years, this has pained me. Baloney! Somebody tapped you on the shoulder, dude, and said, excuse me, Mark, you got a problem here because, there's a bunch of people who saw
John, Mark Herring, and again, folks know me from my show as a moderate Democrat. Herring's a Democrat, but I call, I'm a rep. I'm an up. I call balls and strikes. But Herring has had a pattern of this. Do you remember he came out and was, opposed to the ban on same-sex marriage?
Yes.
Except for when he was a state senator, he voted in favor of a state constitutional ban on same-sex marriage. Mark Herring puts his finger in the wind, sees how it's blowing, votes, and acts accordingly. He is a hypocrite, and for no other reason, he ought to resign. Now, the other two, like I've said, every hour that Northam stays on, all right, he comes closer to remaining governor. Fairfax needs to weather the storm, and I find it ironic that they've hired firms that represented Ford and Kavanaugh, but he will survive this. Okay, and let's not forget that there's a fourth person waiting in the wings, Kurt Cox, who I understand because I'm a Democrat and he's a Republican. He's banned me from the state capitol. But listen, if he tuned into my show, it was reported in the media that I called him the Tom Brady of legislators. So he ought to have me. He ought to he ought to remove that ban. That was just politics.
That's just politics.
Anyway,
look,
that's how I feel about it.
What about
John? But there's something brewing. There's something brewing. I've heard from two sources last night that there are some House members that could face intense scrutiny very soon. I'm not going to go any further than that, but so far, my sources have been spot on with everything.
Are they Republicans or Democrats?
Democrats.
Oh, my goodness.
Yep. Democrats.
Okay, what do you think about
this? Can I just say one other thing?
Yes, and then
John,
I got to go.
You've met my wife, Myrna. You've met our 4 children. How ironic, how hypocritical is that two of these people, Northam and Herring, took such glee in denouncing Myrna and my relationship, and they took that holier-than-thou, sanctimonious attitude. Well, you know what? 5 years on, Myrna and I have 4 children. Our home is filled with laughter and love. We're doing well. And those guys had their dirty little secrets hidden at the time, and they had the temerity to come out and denounce our relationship. Shame on them.
I agree with you, Joe. Shame on them. And anybody like me that is your friend, that's been in your home, that's met your wife, that's met your kids, your home is filled with laughter and love. And so you're right. Shame on them. And my wife, Ann, and I consider you and Myrna some of our best friends. And we love being in your company. We love being with your family. And you guys are great. And so, yeah,
thanks,
it is. Yeah, I mean, it's just sick. And you know, people, they make these judgments and then they live in very, very thin glass houses. So,
sure.
Joe, hang in there, man.
And the hypocrisy is just almost
it's beyond the pale.
Immeasurable. It really is.